Hey guys, welcome back to the Journey Principles. Today's lesson, we're going to talk about the 7 different ways that, well, we're all motivated. And we always have a strong 2 or 3. So make sure you stay tuned to discover what motivates you. Hey guys, welcome back. So I already talked about the 7 different motivating factors and what this video is going to be about. But we need to understand why it's important. And not too long ago, I was at a live event where I first uncovered and discovered this with a good friend of mine, Chris Lacurdo. And when we were talking about it, it actually made a whole lot of sense in understanding why people stay so confused and so frustrated. Because many of us are not actually operating in our gifts and our strengths and our talents. In fact, we're doing the opposite. A lot of us are trying to force fit ourselves like a square peg in a round hole. So in today's video, we're going to jump into the 7 motivating factors to help you align yourself with really what makes you special. So let's go ahead and jump in. You ready? All right, cool. All right, so the first one's the high aesthetic. Now, high aesthetics are really focused on harmony, balance, and form. They get lost in environments, unfortunately, that are very frustrating, confusing, little on the toxic side. That's the worst thing that they can do. The best thing that they can do is be offered the ability to actually take the time to be highly creative, because they're really good at decoration, they're really good at web design, they're really good at making things beautiful and feel good, okay? So that's our high aesthetic. The next one we're gonna talk about is something that is one of my top 3, which is the high economic. Now, high economics, when you hear the word economics, sometimes the one thing that you probably have the biggest takeaway for is you assume it has to do with money. And you're partially right. Not totally right, but partially right. What I mean by that is high economics are simply looking for one thing, and that's going to be ROI. They're looking for a return on investment no matter what it is. So if they donate a pizza to a friend and they need a pizza later, they're expecting that friend to give them a pizza in return. How it looks like in relationships is, let's say the husband goes and says, "Mwah, baby." He's expecting a kiss back. He's expecting when he says, "I love you," that she's going to say, "I love you" back. All right, those are different components of a high economic. Now, the other side of that is they're very competitive. They tend to make decent business people because they are looking for a financial return based on every single effort, which is a good thing, right? So that's going to be our high economic. That's going to be, I can't even talk today. That's going to be our high economic, all right? The next one we're going to go to is what's referred to as a high individualistic. Now, high individualistic people tend to stand out in a crowd. Okay, they're full of energy. They typically dress to the nines, or they're very creative. For example, Elton John would be considered a high individualistic. Lady Gaga, high individualistic. Madonna, high individualistic. These people like to stand out. Now, in immaturity side of things, they are so focused on themselves that they forget other people exist. In maturity state, they recognize that their platform is actually built to actually help them help others. So, when you're talking about high individualistic, you want to be looking at how often they feel like they need to be in front of a crowd. That is something they were created for, but the positioning comes down to maturity versus immaturity like any of the others, okay? Now, the next one is the high political. Now, this happens to be another one of mine that's actually really strong. This was the most difficult one for me specifically, and I'll tell you why. High politicals are naturally geared to be leaders, but in immaturity, they're really bad leaders. In maturity, they turn out to be terrific leaders. So what's the difference? Well, the main difference for me that I had to learn was, in immaturity side of things, I spent all of my time focused on getting over people, going through things, not taking into consideration the people around me. In other words, I was leading by pulling versus leading by inspiring. In maturity side of things, I understand that my entire team matters, my entire family life matters, my entire community matters. And as a result, I changed my leadership theology to go about it doing in an inspirational side of the way, to make sure that I can add value to them, because at the end of the day, people matter. You'll get it far, far further in life if you spend the time helping people rather than spending your time trying to plow through them and over them, right? So that's going to be our high political. The next one is the high theoretical. I like my little buddy Albert Einstein here. I did the best I could to draw this guy. But high theoreticals love information. They love learning. They're always looking for the e-course. They're always looking for the e-book. They historically follow all kinds of various influencers, just trying to take in as much possible information as possible. And they also spend a lot of time in thought, right? So if you take Albert Einstein for just a minute, one of the things that Albert did well, when he would take concept from here, a concept from here, a concept from here, a concept from here, a concept from here, and he would actually try to figure out how they interconnected, which is why they add value to the world and they add value to one another. It's because they're bringing this stuff to connection. And then he comes up with E equals MC square, right? So I'll put EMC just for short because that little bubble is kind of tight. That's what a high theoretical does. They take concepts from different places, and when they're in their maturity state, they begin to bring those together to create potential problem solving, or doing a lot of problem solving specifically, to help a generation move the needle forward. The immature side of things is sometimes the high theoretical spend a whole lot more time, unfortunately, and so much thought that they don't get anything done, okay? So, if you're a high theoretical and you think a lot and you love information, you should be asking yourself, how can I take this information, bridge it together, and create a new path, all right? So if you're high theoretical, that's the way to move forward, all right? The next one is going to be one of my other highest. And I got my little guy here protecting the raindrops on top of the person that's hurting. And that's going to be the high altruistic, or the high altruist, right? Think Mother Teresa, okay? People that are high altruist have a sincere, heartfelt, burning and yearning ability and desire to help other people, period. If they're not helping people, they feel like they're lost in the world. Now, in immaturity side of things for high altruist, they're also really easy to bowl over top of. These people have a tendency to partner up with toxic people and end up control because they're so focused on serving and so focused on giving that they forget to make sure that their personal security is in play, all right? Now, maturity, a high altruist is going to have healthy boundaries, create a framework, and a process that actually allows them to give. Now, this has been the most difficult ways, or one of the most difficult things I've had to learn in my own life because, like I mentioned before, this is one of my largest, this is one of my largest, and this is one of my largest, okay? High altruist, one of the things that I've had to learn the hardest is to have a healthy boundary to give. Why? Because especially as a person who's been given a God-given ability to manage a certain amount of resources, I have to be smart with that. And early on, all I did was like, make it rain, baby. Because I thought if I made it rain, I would be helping people. What I discovered was, it's far better to teach someone to fish than it is to give them a fish, right? Not saying that some people don't need the dollars or don't need the help or need the financial resources. Right now, it's important, but there has to be a strategy in place to do that, okay? The other thing I want to talk about just for a second before we go to the next one is this. Notice, because I've got a high economic and a high altruistic. One is focused on all giving, one is focused on immediate return or returns. Can you see how that could get confusing? It was for me. I was either expecting a return when I first started, or I was completely on the other side of being all giving. The important thing to know about this is that process, like I just mentioned before, okay? No matter what you do, because you're gonna have 3 of these that you rank really, really high in. And you're gonna have a couple others that you're really not gonna rank at all in, basically. You take the attributes of all 3 of those and you figure out how that is pursued in your own DNA/authentic makeup, right? Because as you can see, without the process, which is one of the things we help you with here at the Journey Principles in our Life Mastery courses, is to help you understand how to develop the processes so you can get the best of you and stop avoiding the other problems that come with it. Does that make sense? All right, moving on. Our last one, high regulatory. Now this is my most difficult one because I am not this. I am a big vision, strategic thinker who loves to give and help people. That's who I am. I'm also a professed ADHD/dyslexic person, okay? High regulatory people love systems and processes. High visionaries, like myself, tend to throw grenades in systems and processes without even meaning to, okay? So that's, while it's not the greatest thing in the world. High regulatory people have a system and a process in which they do everything. Their entire worldview is shaped by how do we get there, and it's a step by step by step process. So step by step by step process, okay? High regulatory people are important. Imagine if I was out there writing all the web copy and all the quotes and stuff like that for all our social media channels, the things that you guys are gobbling up, right? Or gobbling up, excuse me. If I was writing that, you guys would probably think I'm a crazy man because it would never be spelled right. I'd miss commas and miss semicolons and all this other kind of stuff. Well, I've got a high regulatory person who's incredibly gifted at details. So I take my big vision strategy and then I'll spend the time giving that to my high regulatory person for them to break apart and make sure that we get all the details and everything right to make it easier for you to actually take the content and utilize it in your own life. That's how these things kind of play a role. None of these different 7 motivating value systems, none of them are perfect. None of them are all right or all wrong. In fact, because you're going to have a maximum of 3 that are really, really strong, you're going to see yourself in a brand new light, 1. And 2, we're going to make sure that each one of these adds value to the other. Okay? So when we do our live events, they're exciting, they're inspirational, they're powerful. Well, imagine if I didn't have a high aesthetic thinking about your experience, about what you were going to see, think, and feel, and smell when you got here. Well, the live event would be boring and be a dud, and that's just not what we're about, okay? Same time, where there's no margin, there's no ministry. So if I don't have a business model, unfortunately, that I can use to make sure that that live event is sustainable, well, it's not sustainable, which means I can't help as many people, okay? If I don't have keynote presenters that are really strong in the public eye and making sure that we're offering life mastery content that you can maximize for your life, the event fails. If we don't have a driver, someone who's leading that initiative, the event fails. If we don't have the right content to help you succeed, in other words, we give you content that you can't apply or content that you can't use for your life, everything fails. And if we can't give you what you need to move forward and take you from stuck to unstoppable, we fail. Which is why we're so focused on trying to make this stuff as bite-sized as possible. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that lesson about value systems, I highly recommend you grab our free ebook linked in the description of this video. It dives deeper into concepts of self-awareness, and there's a ton of valuable information packed inside. Also, do us a favor, like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll make sure we see you on the next video.